Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. I am your host, Viz, and today we are joined by the writers, directors from VHS 99, Maggie Levin, Johannes Roberts, and Flying Lotus. Now, VHS 99 is premiering exclusively on Shudder October 20th. I want to welcome all three of you for being on the show today. How y'all doing? Y'all excited?
Yeah.
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 The movie is less than a week away, and as we were talking about before we went, recording here, this is a wild, wacky ride that this film takes you on. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with Fly Low. That is what they call you,
Yeah,
right? Fly Low.
perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. So Fly Low, as opposed to the previous VHS films, this movie starts and ends with segments. There's no sort of start narrative that combines the segments together. Was it a consensus to go that route to basically make the film from start to finish one segment to another?
Um, there's there was in the beginning, I think the idea was to have, yeah, there be just the kind of tape over effect through the whole piece. And then I think near the near the editing of the whole thing, I think they got Tyler McIntyre to create some cool stop motion animations to throw in to kind
Mhm.
of tie things together to his segment. So there is a thread. I don't know if you caught it this time, but it's definitely there's a thread there with the Tyler segment, the Gawkers.
Yes.
Yeah, but no like large rap story. Just the presence of all our tapes on one tape that ultimately, yeah, lands at the Gawkers.
Absolutely. Now, Johannes, suicide bid. Actually, before that, let's go with Maggie and Shredded. Was that loosely based on the station nightclub fire?
Um, is that where oh my
It
gosh,
was
what's
that big fire in the club that caused a huge stampede. Quite a
yes.
people lost their lives, not because of the fire, but because of the stampede that
Yes.
ensued.
Yes, that was certainly something that was part of the discussion. And I also, I think it made fewer headlines, but there was a fire not that many years ago at a kind of an underground arts collective in the Bay Area, where a lot of kids, the same age as the kids in Iraq, were lost their lives. Super tragic, and obviously, I when you're dealing in the influence of real life tragedies on your horror movies, you have to tread lightly. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
other stuff mixed in there. But, of course, I couldn't make a movie about a burned down rock venue without thinking about those things.
Exactly, because it has happened in real life. Now,
Yes.
Johannes, you did the bit suicide bid.
Mhm.
It has multiple examples of Christian imagery, the cross, the coffin, the necklaces. Was it your intentions to bring that all that imagery into the story? And if so, what was its meaning that you wanted to convey?
Ha! Got to try and sound smart here. No, not at all. The university is it's set in Gatlin Christian University. Gatlin is the small town in Children of the Corn. And I was just having a bit of fun with that. So it wasn't really the cross in the coffin. Like it's all movies that I grew up with. So the cross in the coffin is Serpent in the Rainbow. So 90s movies or 80s, late 80s and 90s movies I grew up in. So there wasn't, I just like playing with the imagery. I would love to sound smarter.
No, that's
Sound
fine.
smart because you're British. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. There was a plan. There was a plan. But no, it was,
Now,
yeah.
Now, Flylo, yours is Ozzy's Dungeon. And man, that was a trip right there. Clearly inspired by the 90s Nickelodeon show Double
Oh,
Dare. Okay.
oh, of
I don't
course.
know if you remember that or whatnot, but I mean, what inspired you to make a show, to make a horror bit out of a show that was on Nickelodeon over 30 years ago and just turn it into this like damn wild ass ride?
I don't know. I think there was just that part of me that was just connected to the '90s, just thinking about things that I wish I was part of, and as well, I just felt like I could. It was something that was kind of a stretch for a lot of people to be able to build, but I knew my production designer, Calder Greenwood, could probably pull it together. And as well, I just felt like if I didn't do something like that, someone else would probably do a Double Dare something soon. It's too ripe, you know.
It was, and this is how old I am. I remember that show. Now Maggie shredded. It appears that the victims in that bit were because they went in there total lack of respect.
Yes.
And for me, it appears that's why they were targeted by the entities that were left behind during that stampede. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say that's accurate. I wanted to do a thing where I presented the villains of the short as the heroes and then vice versa. So we spend most of the movie with our villains and then they get taken down by our heroes who just happen to be really decrepit ghost riot girls. So yes, that's absolutely accurate.
But even the Ghost Riot Girls, even at the end and what they do, they still play music. They still love playing music. It almost sort of comes across that they're not these totally evil beings. Yeah, they got revenge for being mocked, being made fun of, not
Mhm.
believing that they were still there. But at their core, it's looking at their videotapes, their interviews while they were alive that they did. They
Oh yeah,
loved they
those are the
loved
good guys.
yeah, they
Yeah.
loved music. They loved music. They loved music in life, and they loved music in death. What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
Oh, that's absolutely right. And it was really fun getting to create a ghostly score and figure out how it was that these musical ghosts were going to interact with the camera and how their presence shows up in their life after death.
Hmm.
So crafting all of those elements was something that myself and my team did really thoughtfully. But absolutely, it's also meant to be three different plays on the word shredding. We're shredding on skateboards, we're shredding on our guitars, and then we're shredding these little disrespectful kids' bodies into pieces. So
Yeah, yeah, you
that's
know.
uh, that's where it came from. That's the collective idea that you're supposed to walk away from it with, and then just wanted to have a lot of fun in the arena of VHS, getting to do really bombastic practical effects and drop a lot of blood from the ceiling is a real gift. So
And for our audience watching, this movie is just a fun horror movie. It does not lack gore, blood, any of the fun horror elements. Now, Johannes, in Suicide Bid, fraternity, sorority, hazing still goes on today. It has led to some real tragedies that we've all seen and heard about in the news. You tie this to an urban legend story that we hear in the bit itself, which makes it very fascinating. How did you come up with that urban legend that sort of comes true in the bit itself?
The it's actually based on something real, or it's based on a real legend, myth, tale. Guillotine is wow, I've got to remember this now. It's been a while. I think it's Lithuanian. It's a Lithuanian legend. I don't know how I stumbled across it. I was just sort of researching coffins. When Josh asked me to do this, I wrote back to him and said, look, what if it's an idea of someone trapped in a coffin and you hear a knocking on the coffin lid?
Mm-hmm.
And I just liked that idea, and then I just started researching around it. And so there is this legend of guillotine, and so it's sort of loosely based on that. I can't remember. Do you know what it is?
It's okay. It's okay.
I forget these things at my age, you know. But yeah. So it's a real thing.
Now, the spider box that is given to the pledge who has to spend the night in the coffin just shows the cruelty of these sorority sisters who are trying to haze this new pledge. How did the actor who played the pledge react to having these spiders crawl all over her face, while you guys were shooting in that looked to be very small spot?
Yeah, it was I can't say that she,
Had a
loved it. But no, she was in for it. It was weird. I think the toughest bit was we were doing we had the spider lady Diane show us the spiders, and I'm pretty arachnophobic myself, so I was freaking out. And then at one point we were talking about she had done the Billie Eilish music video which has spiders, and she just picked up I said, how did you do the thing with the spider coming out of the mouth? And she picked up a tarantula and she just popped it in her mouth, and I was like, sweet Jesus. And said, okay, right, we're gonna have to try that in the movie. So we did that in the movie, with the whole guillotine thing, and we did 2 takes. But obviously it's been practiced before. I asked the guy, "Will you do it?" And he said, "Yeah, okay, I will." Stupidly, but then obviously he's got all the makeup on, and so when we did it, the spider, there was obviously the smell of glue and stuff around. So the spider, it didn't quite go the way it should have done. So the first take, he opened his mouth and the spider went the wrong way, and went backwards instead of out.
Oh,
so
God!
I was like, Christ! And then the second take, it came out, but it had then sort of shed its hairs into his mouth. So. His whole mouth.
Oh no!
His whole mouth went.
What a horrible detail to describe.
Yeah. So that was it. I asked to do a third take, but no one would give me a third take.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
No. Yeah.
Now, Maggie, we're almost out of time, but I want to leave this question to you. So here you are, modern day world, and you're trying to shoot a film that is going to come across as being from a VHS tape. What kind of challenges does that present to you as a director?
Many of them exciting ones. There is a kind of gleeful, joyous nostalgia to this entire movie, and certainly for my segment in particular, all of my department heads, my production designer Britt Keller, my costume designer Jenny Newman, my DP Alex Chunu, we were all really interested in nailing the era authenticity. Of course, that comes with some strange quirks. We shot on a Sony camera from the era that couldn't be monitored in any kind of regular way. So there are a lot of funny behind the scenes videos of me running behind my DP as he's skateboarding around with the kids. And I'm just trying not to trip him with the monitor wire. But the beauty of working in those old formats is they have a kind of a warmth and a specialness to them, and it was really exciting to nail it from a technical aspect, and that's something we tried really hard to do, and I think for me it was part of one of the biggest appeals of doing this piece in this time was to play with those old formats.
I never would have guessed you actually used old equipment. I thought you used modern digital cameras, and then in post-production, everything was made to look like it was a VHS tape. So that's very impressive.
We shot on 2 cameras to be safe, but the bulk of the film, with the exception of I think 2 specialty shots, was all on that late 90s Sony.
Kudos to you guys. That was amazing. We're out of time. I want to thank you guys, Flying Lotus, Maggie Levin, Johannes Roberts. The movie again, guys, VHS 99, premiering exclusively on Shudder October 20th. Check it out. It's like an hour and 48 minutes, but it's a wild ride from start to finish. Thank you guys so much for coming on here and sharing your thoughts. Stay safe. I'm excited for the public to see this film. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe and stay walking. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Oh.